Okay, we all know that Randy Orton has voices in his head, but I think it's the voices in the arena that WWE should be concerned about. Welcome to Silo Voice Wrestling on YouTube and the Silo Voice Wrestling podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jason C. McLean, and these are my assorted thoughts on the March 20th, 2026 WWE Smackdown. I'm recording this March 21st, 2026. It's around 9:30 at night, so it's still fresh in my mind. Now, last week, SmackDown was in Phoenix, Arizona, and it ended with the Randy Orton heel turn, getting Cody Rhodes all bloody. And the crowd was sort of mixed. I mean, there was some were booing and in shock, but people were still cheering Randy. Now, maybe that was just a Phoenix thing. This week, they were in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is kind of like Rhodes country. I mean, the Carolinas are old, dusty territory, Jim Crockett. So, but you know what? Cody wasn't there, but the crowd still seemed to be behind Randy, no matter how hard he and WWE tried to make him the bad guy. In fact, the opening on-camera shot of the two announcers, Joe Tessitore and Wade Barrett, I believe was talking about how the entire WWE universe is firmly all horrified at Randy Orton's actions, while there's somebody in the shot right behind him holding up one of those like brightly colored RKO Everybody t-shirts for the camera. So yeah, visual conflict with the message being portrayed. When Randy eventually came to the ring, people were still cheering. He sat down. He was doing everything. He was trying to, he changed his tone. He was not like, shaking hands, digging the singing along to the song. He even talked about people singing along to the song and how the smiles meant nothing. And his smile was hollow, basically trying to turn on, not to the same way that Cena did. Like Cena really had to drive that home. Basically just saying that he doesn't care anymore, but the fans still cheered, and they cheered the fact that especially that he wants to win. There was no pop for in the main event of WrestleMania. I guess the one part that's not over is WrestleMania. I don't know. Maybe they wanted him to beat Cody that night. And then he attacked Matt Cardona. Now that did get a few boos, but and when he talked with Jelly Roll, I almost thought for a second that maybe it was a test. They had a plan for him, Jelly Roll, to talk him down and make him become a babyface again if the crowd was not going to accept the heel turn. But then, of course, he comes out and he beats Matt Cardona, and the crowd was chanting one more time. Like, it wasn't the entire crowd. And yeah, Matt Cardona hasn't, at least since he returned to WWE, hasn't had the chance to really have that kind of crowd connection. The crowd is like, whether it's Phoenix, whether it's Raleigh. I even started seeing this in Saudi Arabia. They were cheering Cody until he said, I'm going to win the Royal Rumble. No, but they cheered Randy even louder. I think the crowd doesn't want to boo Randy Orton, especially this sort of like 2009 version of heel Randy Orton. Like, he's just a cool character. And I think a lot of people were hoping Cody becomes the one to turn. But it's clearly not going to. Maybe they'll do that at WrestleMania. Who knows? I think they got like a show in St. Louis coming up, which is like Randy Orton's hometown. I'm wondering if WWE thought this was going to happen, and if maybe this is ultimately sort of a way to, turn Randy, but still have him be popular, knowing it was going to happen. And maybe like, sorry, Cody, the crowd's just not as behind you as they used to be. Or maybe they're honestly trying to make it work this way, but something's not working. Now, WWE has a choice. They either embrace the crowd reaction and sort of pivot a little bit, maybe keep Randy with this character, but like make it more of a babyface versus babyface match, or they continue down this path. And I think ultimately next week, Jelly Roll is supposed to be there. Maybe Randy's actually going to attack Jelly Roll, and that's something that might get them to actually boo Randy. The crowd resign themselves to boo Randy, or they'll just boo Jelly Roll. Like, I mean, honestly, I don't know why I thought they were going to do a heel turn. They should have done it at WrestleMania. I don't think this heel turn was a good idea. Yes, in the other main event, Roman versus Punk, they're both still baby faces, but there's still a lot of tension and stuff. You could do that with Cody and Randy without turning one of them heel, but I guess they wanted a clear bad guy in one of the main events, and the problem is the crowd In this case, doesn't. It's not the easiest situation to be in, but you know what? Both their stars, both the Randy's really over it. They have the problem of having a really over star in one of the two main events at Mania. So, you know, it's an okay problem to have, but we'll see how they sort this out. Sami Zayn's road to WrestleMania is a little clearer right now. I'm pretty sure he's going to be in a match with Trick Williams. Now, I guess I'm resigning myself to accept that. The thing is, I didn't want even though a nominal heel that's really over with the crowd versus Sami Zayn, because I want Sami Zayn, if he turns heel later, fine, but I want him to, at least win. I guess I'm reminiscent of the time when my Montreal hero was at the Bell Center, and yes, he lost to Roman, but I hope he could at least win one world championship as a babyface. But looks like they're not going to let the character do that right now. So I think that he's up for a character change. So they're for the past few weeks, it was Sami Zayn versus water bottles backstage. That I say you should attack a Prime bottle and then have a feud with Logan Paul, but no, that's the wrong show. In fact, that's the way to get Sami Zayn. Put anyone against Logan Paul, they're going to get cheered. That's talk about lack of clear heels. Someone who's a clear heel is Logan Paul. Anyways, I digress. We did have the Sami segment backstage where he's sort of like he doesn't know what he believes anymore. So showing the distracted nature of the character. He said he had to focus on the match with Aleister Black, but clearly he was not. He was focused on Trick Williams. Also, when he came out, I mean, the crowd pop didn't sound like some of the old Sami Zayn crowd pops, but I think it wasn't the crowd. It was the fact that Sami Zayn didn't try to rev up the crowd like he normally does. He was not revved up. And this is a real skill on his part. He was wrestling distracted. Intentionally, he was showing that he was distracted by Trick Williams, by the whole situation. And eventually he ended up eating a black mass. And I also like the sort of resigned, fine, I'll do it this way look on Aleister Black's face. Props to him. Now, obviously, Discount Karrion Kross isn't who Sami Zayn is going to be facing at Mania. Although losing the Black in the distracted state, which is an excuse, is fine because Randy Orton lost Aleister Black too. So he could take this loss, and I even think he could take a loss to Trick at Mania if it propels him down the next step, the next sort of evolution in his character, and hopefully to being maybe slight heel turn, maybe a different type of baby face. Maybe if Cody finally turns heel, he can win a championship as that. But I think for WrestleMania, Trick is also really over with the crowd. He's the one who got the biggest response. So yeah, Sami got distracted by Trick and lost for it. And just the even in this such great character work and great in-ring storytelling from Sami, from Trick outside of the ring, and from Aleister Black. So you know what? It was definitely wasn't the best match of the night. Wasn't the best Sami Zayn match I've seen, but it told a real story. And Sami's at least still in a major, because a singles match without a title at WrestleMania, gets that against Trick, that's still, he's still a prominent player. So going to see where we go with this. We've got new WWE Tag Team Champions, R-Truth and Damian Priest, the team I didn't know I needed a few weeks ago. And now I love them, and I'm glad that they're champions. Now, the match itself against the MFTs, wasn't the most exciting match in the world. It was decent. And of course, there was the interference by the Wyatts to stop the interference from the MFTs. Losing the lantern is what threw them, and we're probably going down a different road, MFTs versus the Wyatts, and maybe possible tension or maybe even a breakup within the MFTs. Maybe Tama Tonga going out on his own. I'm not really sure where they're going with that. It's interesting, but yeah, new tag champs. And you know what? As long as they still do a multi-woman tag, they haven't said they're doing it yet, but the women's tag team titles have to be on WrestleMania. The division is so hot. And I'm hoping for a multi-woman TLC match. If they want to do a multi-man's match, the only way it would be okay is that, they could do it on SmackDown or on WrestleMania weekend, or they could maybe do it with both divisions and merge the men's tag titles together. They really should have one tag division on both brands. I like they do for the women. I think they should do it. I think the splitting of the tag titles was a mistake because the rosters weren't deep enough or of really good teams on either brand. So yeah, I think they should do that. But for now, I'm happy with the new tag team champions, and I like the fact that Damian Priest, after winning the tag titles, was like visibly saying, "What the hell? Like, what just happened? Like, I wasn't even in this team 3 weeks ago, and now I'm a champion." It was fun. I mean, I also gets Damian Priest at least somewhere, at least onto WrestleMania weekend in some sort of an important position, if not WrestleMania itself, and means R-Truth might be there too. So I'm happy. Jade Cargill having her crew of baddies, Michin and B-Fab, was a bit predictable, but also makes total sense. I think it's needed because, I mean, unlike Roman and Punk or Liv and Stephanie or Cody and Randy, they don't really need that much. I think the story with Rhea and Jade is going to be told largely in the ring. So the simple promo of like, you know, who's tough or whatever, something like that, like no big personal history, just like sort of talking about the in-ring. It's all they really need, but they can't keep doing the same promo every week as they've been doing. So they have to, but they also got to keep the hype up. So adding a little faction for Jade Cargill, a little heel faction, actually kind of works, and I think is a smart idea. And I think it adds another wrinkle to it. It keeps it interesting. It makes it more of a match that we, even though the match itself is going to be, I mean, those two might interfere in the match itself at Mania, but it's Rhea versus Jade, and that's where the storytelling is going to be told in the ring. But this keeps it somewhat hot for now, so I'm fine with it. The other through line of the show was Drew McIntyre, Jacob Fatu, just sort of fighting. They were supposed to have a match, but the match didn't happen, which makes sense because obviously that match is going to happen at Mania. Jacob's always involved in these like sort of out of the ring events. I saw one live at Montreal with Cody. And whenever a show starts hot with someone attacked in the parking lot, Drew McIntyre is usually involved. So several examples of it. So you know what? I think this is a match that's going to need some sort of a stipulation, maybe Hell in the Cell, maybe just a street fight, Las Vegas street fight. I mean, I think Drew was involved in one last year too, but you know what? And he was also involved in the last main Hell in the Cell match. But you know what? Drew's a good stipulation match guy, and I definitely can, and Jacob is too. I'm looking more forward to this match, but I think it needs a stipulation. Also, low-key, at one point, I was kind of hoping for maybe Drew McIntyre versus Nick Aldis and Jacob for something else, which I think would be very interesting. But I think, no, Drew and Jacob, give it a stipulation. We're fine with that. Ilya Dragunov versus Carmelo Hayes, challenging for the United States Championship. No notes, honestly, except to say this was an excellent match. It seemed Carmelo seems to have series with like long-running series with different people. He's had one with Ilya now. He had one with Andrade before, and like really impressive, really good. Also, I'm pretty sure Carmelo has to carry the title into Mania. So I was thinking maybe there would be some sort of like schmoz at the end or something like that to maybe have this be the rematch at WrestleMania. But I also thought, even though I was pretty sure Melo was going to carry it into Mania, I thought maybe there's a chance Ilya was going to win it here because they made it so believable, so many false finishes. Again, excellent match. I don't normally cheer for messed up endings, DQs. In fact, I usually like there to be a winner, but for the second week in a row, I was cheering for a DQ in the women's the tag team championship match. The Bellas challenging the Irresistible Forces. And you know what? Once again, I love the fact that the Irresistible Forces have a team name. Not that I necessarily love that name, just the fact that they have a team name. I think that's great. Yeah, and I got a DQ this time. It was because of interference from Charlotte and Alexa. Last week was a DQ interference by the Bellas. Now, talk about how the Bellas even got this, even qualified to be number one contenders for the tag title when that was their first match as a team in like a decade or several years. But still, it was predictable. Last week was predictable. But these are the steps they have to take to ultimately make it a multi-team match for the Women's Tag Team Championships. And I'm hoping for a TLC match. And this is all setting up for that. Let's get some teams from Raw involved. Let's see. We got the Irresistible Forces. We've got them, the champions. I imagine they'll be walking in as champions. We have Charlexa. We have the Bellas, apparently. So that's 3. Let's throw in Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. And I'd say let's throw in the Kabuki Warriors. Although, as long as Io Sky has a match, because I'm thinking Io maybe versus Asuka. If Io Sky has a match, then keep the Kabuki Warriors in there and maybe have it 6. If that's 5 teams, that's enough. But maybe throw in a 6 team, maybe throw in a team from NXT, something like that. That could be very interesting, a very good match. Let's make that happen. And all these DQ finishes, which are generally I don't like for, I'm glad we're getting it because it means we're going to get that kind of match at WrestleMania. So I'm excited for that. Slam poetry battle, Jelly Roll versus Kit Wilson. Let's book it for WrestleMania because Jelly Roll will have some time to prepare because he wasn't really that prepared for all that. You think a musician would have the advantage in a slam poetry battle, but I think Kit had better bars in this one. But eventually, I guess Jelly got under his skin in the attack. Obviously, they're leading to something maybe with The Miz, maybe with Danhausen as well too. I'd be cool with that. But speaking of Danhausen, I'm loving. I am a Fanhausen. In fact, so I don't get cursed, the next T-shirt I get from WWE shop is going to be a Danhausen T-shirt. I mean, this is a while ago. Liv and Dom there. I got a Punk one. I have a Sami Zayn one. But yeah, my next one's going to be I was thinking of getting the Randy Orton RKO Everybody the Bright one. But no, I think I might get a Danhausen one because he'd want me to. And Danhausen was great on this show. His bit with Candice LeRae, where he didn't actually say, I'm going to remove the curse if you give me $20. She just asked, can you remove the curse? He just asked, do you have $20 human dollars? She gave it to him and he walked away. That makes perfect sense. Also, something occurred to me. Danhausen has the Triple H pointing finger. I don't think he's going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. No, because they take that a little bit more seriously. But TKO has blimp money. Come on, let's get Danhausen his blimp, have it fly over WrestleMania. Maybe, well, quote unquote, he could parachute out of it down to the ring, or really just somebody in a helmet parachutes down and then goes under the ring and Danhausen comes out like it was him the whole time. Let's book. I mean, I think at some point he's going to have a match, but that doesn't seem to really be a priority. I think the priority is just, him in the backstage segments. Maybe his first match will be at WrestleMania and maybe he'll come out of a blimp. I don't know. A boy can hope. Till then, I'm still a Fanhausen. These were my assorted thoughts on the March 20th, 2026 WWE Smackdown from Raleigh, North Carolina. Do you agree with my thoughts? Do you think Danhausen should get that blimp at WrestleMania? Let me know in the comments. Follow at Silo Voice Wrestling on Facebook and Instagram, at Silo Wrestling on X, and me at Jason C. McLean on X and Instagram. Also, jasoncmclean.bsky.social on Bluesky. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, ring that bell for notifications to get all my wrestling hot takes, cold takes, simmering takes, wrestling opinion pieces, WWE Premium Live Event prediction and review videos, and assorted thoughts on Raw and SmackDown. I'll be back with my assorted thoughts on Raw. Until then, for Silo Voice Studios in Montreal, I'm Jason C. McLean.